You've been told that quantum shifting is complicated, that it requires rituals, precise techniques, or endless hours of meditation. But here's the paradox: the truth is so simple, so radically direct, that most people cannot see it. Complexity comforts the mind. It makes us feel safe, as if difficulty alone is proof of depth. Yet the doorway into other realities does not hide behind 1,000 locks. It is open. It has always been open. Imagine a fish searching for the ocean, unaware that it has been swimming in it since the beginning. That is you, searching for a shift you are already embedded within. Every breath, every flicker of thought, every quiet moment of awareness, these are the shifting points. But because the mind craves grandiosity, it overlooks the subtle, and in overlooking the subtle, it misses the power. Science whispers the same secret. Quantum physics tells us that reality does not exist in one frozen state, but in a cloud of probabilities. It is only when observed, when chosen, that one path crystallizes. This is not a metaphor. This is measurement, confirmed again and again in the laboratories of physics. The world is not solid. It is fluid. And you, the observer, are the sculptor who freezes its flow into form. Yet, you've been conditioned to believe otherwise, conditioned to think you are trapped in one rigid storyline, unable to move, unable to bend the structure of what is. This conditioning blinds you to the elegance of what shifting really is, the effortless act of awareness aligning with a different branch of reality. It is not climbing a mountain, but noticing that you were never bound to one valley. It is not breaking free of chains, but realizing they were never locked. The ancients understood this. The mystics of every culture spoke of it. The yogis who dissolved into samadhi, the shamans who walked between worlds, the prophets who spoke of heavens and new earths. They were not conjuring fantasies. They were touching the same truth modern physics now stumbles upon. That consciousness does not move through reality, but reality moves through consciousness. And yet, here lies the tragedy: the simplicity is unbearable. Because if it is simple, there is no excuse left. You can no longer say, "It's too hard, I don't know how." The mind resists that. The ego clings to struggle because struggle makes it feel important. To shift without effort feels too naked, too exposed. You want formulas, steps, systems. But what if the only step is to see? What if the only requirement is presence? Close your eyes for a moment. Notice your breath. Not to control it, not to deepen it, just to watch. In that instant, the world softens. You are no longer racing through the future or replaying the past. You are here. And in that here, you are shifting. The background hum of reality bends with your attention. A subtle recalibration takes place. This is not imagination, it is alignment. But here's the twist: because it is so close, so obvious, your mind will dismiss it. It will tell you nothing happened. It will scream for fireworks, for proof, for spectacle. But the shift is not in the noise. It is in the silence. It is in the pause between thoughts. It is in the moment when you realize that the very act of choosing where to place your awareness is the act of quantum shifting. Do not let simplicity deceive you. The treasure is not hidden behind complexity. It is hidden behind your refusal to believe that something so powerful could be this effortless. The simplicity is the camouflage, and until you embrace it, you will keep chasing shadows of techniques, missing the light they point to. So I ask you, what if tonight, instead of trying so hard, you simply noticed? What if, as you drift to sleep, you tell yourself gently, "I can wake up in a different world," and then let go? Not with tension, not with demand, but with surrender. The universe is already listening. It has always been listening. The only one not listening has been you. You have been taught your entire life that effort is the price of transformation. Work harder, push further, sweat and grind until the world bends to your will. This belief runs deep in you, etched into your nervous system, reinforced by culture, school, society. But when it comes to the shifting of consciousness, this law collapses. The paradox is clear. The harder you try, the further you move from the doorway. Think of a dream. When you try to control it, it slips away. But when you relax into its current, when you let the dream unfold while you simply remain aware, suddenly the impossible becomes natural. You can fly. You can walk through walls. You can dissolve into light. No effort required, only surrender. That is the same principle of quantum shifting. Modern neuroscience has already uncovered fragments of this truth. When you enter deep states of flow, your brain shifts out of the beta wave grind of survival mode and into the slower, expansive rhythms of alpha and theta. In those states, creativity surges, possibilities expand, and time itself begins to bend. Athletes feel it when they describe being in the zone. Artists know it when inspiration flows like a river. What is happening in those moments is a rehearsal for shifting. Effort dissolves, and something greater begins to guide the movement. Yet here is the danger: effort makes you feel like you are in control, and letting go makes you feel exposed, as if you are dissolving into uncertainty. But uncertainty is not chaos, it is freedom. When you release effort, you do not lose control. You simply stop pretending you ever had it. You step back and allow the quantum field, the infinite ocean of probability, to do what it was always doing, responding to your awareness. This is why so many people never taste the truth of shifting. They strain, they force, they imagine it is a mountain to climb rather than a veil to lift. And in the straining, they reinforce the very reality they are trying to escape. Imagine pulling harder and harder on the bars of a cage, unaware that the lock was never fastened. The door was always open. But you never tested it gently enough to see. Ancient wisdom repeats this same teaching in different tongues. The Taoists called it Wu Wei, action through non-action. The Buddhists called it the middle path, neither clinging nor resisting. The mystics of the West called it grace, the effortless descent of the divine into human life. Science, too, has its echo. Quantum particles do not obey brute force. They respond to observation, to the subtle presence of awareness. You have been taught that complexity equals power. But here, power hides in simplicity. The more you relax, the more you expand. The more you trust, the more the shift occurs. And so the real challenge is not mastering some hidden ritual. The real challenge is unlearning your addiction to effort. Pause for a moment. Reflect on your life. How many times have your greatest breakthroughs come not through strain, but through release? That idea that struck you in the shower. That solution that appeared when you finally gave up trying. That moment of that is required is a single step into the air. And in that step, reality rearranges itself to meet you. If this resonates, share it in the comments. It helps this message reach more seekers who are ready to remember. Because the world does not need more force. It needs more people who have rediscovered the quiet power of surrender. There is a truth so profound, so destabilizing, that most people reject it the moment they hear it. Reality bends, not because of what you do, but because of what you see. You are not merely living inside the world. You are watching it, shaping it, selecting it. And this secret hides in plain sight, buried in both ancient mysticism and the most cutting-edge science of today. In quantum physics, there is the double-slit experiment, the most famous experiment that refuses to die. A single particle, when unobserved, behaves like a wave, existing in multiple states at once, spread across possibility. But the instant it is observed, it collapses into one outcome, one location, one reality. Do you see the implication? Observation itself creates form. Awareness is not passive. Awareness is the trigger. Now pause and let that sink in. Because this is not just a laboratory trick. This is the mirror of your life. When you hold your attention on fear, the field collapses into outcomes that mirror fear. When you dwell on lack, the wave of abundance collapses into the particle of scarcity. And when you shift your focus, when you see differently, the universe reshapes itself to meet the new vision. You have been doing this unconsciously your entire life. Shifting is not new. What is new is remembering that you are the one observing. The mystics have said this in softer words. They spoke of faith, of vision, of seeing with the inner eye. As a man thinketh, so is he. Where your attention goes, energy flows. These are not cliches. They are the oldest attempts to translate the same principle, that what you choose to witness becomes the stage upon which your life unfolds. And yet, here is the trap. You believe your observation must be loud, intense, filled with passion and demand. But the truth is quieter. The universe does not respond to the noise of effort, but to the purity of focus. A candle does not need to scream to illuminate the dark. In the same way, your awareness, when steady and uncluttered, is enough to alter the course of reality. This is why meditation has always been the doorway across all cultures and centuries. Not because it is a mystical ritual, but because it trains the mind to observe without distraction, to look steadily into the infinite wave of possibilities without collapsing into chaos, to choose, gently, which reality to invite into form. In silence, you learn the mechanics of creation. And here lies the reason so many fail to grasp shifting. They think they are not powerful enough. But the field does not care about belief. The field only responds to where you place your attention. You do not need to force yourself to believe. You only need to watch. Like the physicist watching the particle, your gaze is enough. It is not belief that changes the outcome. It is observation. Think of your daily life. When you walk into a room expecting hostility, you notice every glare, every frown. Your observation sharpens the possibility of conflict until it hardens into reality. But walk into the same room with an expectation of peace, and suddenly the smiles reveal themselves. The warmth surfaces, the conflict dissolves. Both were there all along. But your observation chose which one would rise into form. You are not trapped. You are not powerless. You are simply unaware of the scale of your influence. Every thought is a lens, every emotion a filter. Reality does not move independently of you. It shifts in response to you. This is not belief, it is physics. And once you see it, once you understand that the act of observing is the act of shaping, the cage you thought you lived in dissolves into mist. So the question becomes, what will you choose to see? Look closely at your life, and you will notice a haunting pattern. The outer world has always mirrored the inner one. When you are restless inside, life seems chaotic. When you are at peace, events seem to soften around you. This is not coincidence, it is reflection. Reality is not separate from you. It is the echo of your inner state, cast outward onto the screen of existence, filtering everything you experience. This is why two people can live through the same event and tell two completely different stories. It is not the event itself that shapes them. It is the lens through which they observe. The neuroscientists call it perception bias. The mystics call it Maya, the illusion. Different names, same truth. Your world is a reflection of your inner frequency. Now think of this. When you attempt to shift realities without tending to the landscape of your inner self, you are like someone trying to change their reflection by rearranging the mirror. Futile. The mirror only bends when you move. The outer only transforms when the inner does. That is the true art of shifting. And here is the hidden danger if you ignore this mirror. If you refuse to face the shadows within, you will keep repeating the same patterns across different realities. You can step into a new timeline, but the same unresolved wounds will follow you like a shadow, because they are not external, they are yours. Shifting does not erase who you are. It amplifies it. If you carry chaos, chaos will bloom in the new reality. If you carry peace, peace will blossom everywhere you go. The ancients understood this when they spoke of initiation, of purification, of cleansing the soul before entering the sacred. These rituals were never about appeasing gods. They were about preparing the self, about making sure the inner waters were clear enough to reflect a higher world. Without that clarity, the shift collapses back into old patterns. So ask yourself, what world are you projecting now? Do you see lack, betrayal, resistance, or do you see possibility, abundance, trust? Do not answer quickly. Sit with it. Feel into the landscapes of your thoughts, your emotions. They're your unspoken beliefs. They are the architects of the timeline you inhabit. And until you change them, the world around you cannot change. But here is the hope tea: you do not need to fight the outer world to change it. You only need to look inward. Each moment you soften anger into compassion, each moment you turn fear into trust, each moment you choose love instead of doubt. You shift, not in theory, in reality, and the mirror bends with you. Quantum shifting, then, is not a technique to escape yourself. It is the greatest invitation to meet yourself fully, to polish the mirror of your inner world, so that the reflection it casts is no longer distorted by fear. And when that mirror clears, when your consciousness radiates with clarity, reality itself cannot resist. It must transform. Every moment of your life is a threshold. You may not realize it, but you are standing before infinite doors at every breath. Most people never see the doors. They walk straight ahead, assuming there is only one hallway, one direction, one destiny. But the truth is more dangerous, more liberating. Reality branches with every choice of perception, and each branch is a universe, fully alive, waiting for your arrival. Quantum physics does not shy away from this. The many worlds interpretation suggests that every possibility, every potential outcome, already exists. Every path you did not take is unfolding right now, in a reality parallel to yours. Every version of you, stronger, freer, wiser, or still bound, exists in the infinite sea of timelines. And shifting is simply the act of stepping from one branch to another, not by force, but by alignment. But here is the paradox: the threshold is invisible to the eyes, but not to the heart. You cannot see the door because it is not outside, it is inside. The choice of focus, the vibration of emotion, the story you tell yourself in silence, these are the keys. Each thought is a doorway, each belief a compass. You are already choosing, already shifting, whether you know it or not. Consider the moments you called fate, the job you stumbled into, the person who appeared by chance, the opportunity that fell into your lap when you least expected it. These were not accidents. These were thresholds you crossed unconsciously. Your state of being, your frequency, turned into a parallel world where those events were waiting for you. You shifted, not with ritual, but with resonance. And yet, here lies the weight of this knowledge. If every moment is a threshold, then you are never infinite. You can no longer pretend you are trapped. You can no longer say, "I had no choice." The mirror is merciless in its honesty. Every reality you walk into is the one you have chosen, consciously or unconsciously. The responsibility is heavy, but it is also freedom. The ancients hinted at this through symbols of crossroads, of guardians standing at gateways, of initiations that demanded a decision. These myths were never about external journeys. They were metaphors for the inner threshold you face each day. To stay asleep or to wake, to repeat or to renew, to collapse into fear, or to step into the higher resonance of possibility. And so I ask you now, quietly but directly, which door will you step through in this very breath? Will you remain in the hallway, the one paved by old beliefs and unhealed shadows? Or will you turn your gaze, adjust your inner frequency, and walk into the world where your higher self is already waiting? The door does not require a key. It requires only recognition. You always stand at the threshold. The choice has always been yours. There is a secret most people never face. You are not a single self. You are a constellation of selves, scattered across infinite realities, each living out a different story. Some of these selves are thriving, radiant with freedom. Others are trapped, repeating the same cycles of pain, and all of them are you, threads woven into the great tapestry of consciousness. Quantum physics calls this the multiverse. Spiritual traditions call it the higher self, the oversoul, the eternal spirit. Different languages, same truth. You are vast beyond what you can comprehend. What you call me is only one branch of an endless tree, one reflection in an infinite hall of mirrors. And every shift you make is not creating a new you. It is tuning into one that already exists. But here is the danger. Because you have forgotten this, you cling desperately to the story you are living now. You treat your current self as the only truth, the only possibility. You say, "This is who I am. This is my life. This is my fate." But this is an illusion. You are not fixed. You are fluid. And the moment you loosen your grip on who you think you are, you begin to merge with who you truly are. Psychology whispers fragments of this through the study of identity. Neuroscience tells us the brain rewires itself endlessly, that your sense of self is not a static truth, but a pattern of firing neurons, shifting every day. Mysticism takes this further. The soul is not bound to one mask. It wears thousands, and all of them are alive in different realms. When you shift, you are not escaping. You are aligning. You are stepping out of resonance with one version of yourself and stepping into harmony with another. Think of it like tuning a radio. The frequencies already exist. The station is already playing. You do not create the music, you simply tune into it. The same is true for your life. And the dial is your consciousness. Now pause. Imagine for a moment the version of you who has already broken free of every limitation you carry. The version who lives with courage instead of fear, with abundance instead of lack, with peace instead of turmoil. That self is not fantasy. It exists. It is living, breathing, waiting for you to align. And the only barrier is the story you tell yourself, that it cannot be real. This is why self-image is the gatekeeper of shifting. If you continue to identify as the broken self, you collapse into the timeline where the broken self remains. But if you allow yourself, even for a moment, to identify as the free self, the healed self, the powerful self, then reality begins to bend. Because the quantum field does not ask what you deserve. It only mirrors what you claim yourself to be. The ancients described this as dying before you die, the art of letting go of one identity so that another can be born. The Phoenix myth, the death and resurrection of gods, the shamanic journey into the underworld, all are symbolic of this truth. To shift is to die to one version of yourself and to awaken into another. And in that death, there is no loss, only transformation. But here is the responsibility: every fractured self is still you. And as you ascend, as you align with higher versions, you carry a piece of them with you. The fear-driven self does not vanish. It integrates. The shadow does not disappear. It is healed. Shifting is not abandonment. It is wholeness. It is remembering that every fragment, even the broken ones, belong to the same vast soul. So when you look into the mirror tonight, do not just see the face you know. See the faces you do not. See the infinite selves shimmering behind your eyes, calling you forward. They are waiting for you to choose. They are waiting for you to remember. If you wish to understand shifting, you must first understand silence. Not the absence of sound, but the stillness that exists beneath all motion. Between every thought you have ever had, there is a gap. Between every heartbeat, a pause. Between every moment of life, a breathless stillness that holds the universe together. That silence is not empty. It is the womb of creation. It is the space from which all realities are born. You see, shifting does not happen in the noise of effort or the storm of desire. It happens in the pause. It is in the stillness, where the boundaries between timelines dissolve, where the doors swing open unnoticed, where you slip like a whisper into a new reality. Silence is the bridge between worlds, and yet most people fear it. They fill their lives with constant motion, endless distraction, because silence reveals too much. But silence is not your enemy. It is your guide. Mystics across all ages have spoken of this. The desert fathers retreated into barren landscapes, not to escape life, but to hear the silence beneath it. The yogis closed their eyes, not to shut out the world, but to listen to the hum of reality itself. Even science nods in agreement. When the brain enters states of stillness, the default mode network quiets, and new patterns of perception emerge. Silence is not passive, it is an active portal. And here lies the hidden truth: shifting requires you to enter the silence, even if only for a moment. Because in silence, your old identity loosens its grip. In silence, the narrative of who you think you are pauses. And in that pause, you are free to step into another self, another story, another world. You cannot grasp this with noise. You can only enter it by softening, by listening, by becoming still enough to notice the doorway. Think of water. When it is agitated, the surface reflects nothing, but when it is still, it becomes a perfect mirror. Your consciousness is the same. Agitated, distracted, restless, it cannot reflect the infinite. But in stillness, it becomes clear, and in that clarity, you see the world waiting for you. So the practice is simple, though not easy. Learn to love silence. Sit with it, even when your mind screams for distraction. Breathe into it, even when it feels unbearable. At first, you will encounter shadows, old fears, buried emotions, forgotten wounds. But if you remain, if you do not run, you will find that silence is not empty. It is full of possibility, full of life, full of the shifting currents of reality. And when you can rest in that silence, even for a breath, you will notice something extraordinary. The edges of your world soften, the walls you thought were solid dissolve. You feel the hum of infinite timelines vibrating beneath your skin, and then, without effort, without struggle, you slip. You shift. The silence delivers you into the world your soul has already chosen. This is why silence has always been feared by those who cling to control. Because in silence, the illusions of power dissolve. In silence, you remember that you were never bound, and once you remember, no one can cage you again. So tonight, when the world quiets and the noise fades, do not rush to fill the silence. Let it open. Step into it. Because hidden within that stillness is the map of your infinite self. To understand the simplicity of shifting, you must release your grip on time. For time, as you know it, is not a river flowing forward. It is a sea already full. Every moment you think of as past, present, or future exists simultaneously, woven into the eternal fabric of now. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. This is not just mystical poetry. It is echoed by physics itself. Einstein shattered the illusion of linear time when he revealed that past and future are relative, that they bend and stretch depending on the observer. Quantum theory goes further, suggesting that the future is not fixed, but exists as a cloud of possibilities, collapsing only when chosen. What you call the future is not ahead of you. It is already here, waiting for your awareness to select it. But the human mind loves the story of time. It clings to before and after, to someday and not yet. It tells you that your dream reality is far away, that you must climb mountains of effort to reach it. And so you wait. You delay. You live in the illusion that the life you long for is somewhere out there in the future. But here is the hidden danger. The longer you hold it in the future, the longer it remains there. Because in truth, it exists now, unclaimed, unnoticed, waiting for you to align. Think of this: the version of you who already lives your dream reality is not in some distant tomorrow. That self exists in this very instant, in a parallel strand of now. To shift is not to travel forward, it is to tune sideways. To let go of the false story that you must wait, and to step into the knowing that it is already alive, already breathing, already waiting for you to merge with it. Ancient wisdom carried this secret in quiet whispers. The mystics spoke of the eternal present, the only moment that is real. The Buddhists called it the suchness of now. The prophets spoke of eternity not as endless time, but as timelessness, and all of them pointed to the same truth modern science now circles: time is not a cage. It is a construct, and once you see through it, the doors of shifting open effortlessly. Pause now and reflect. How many times have you felt DJ view you as if you had lived this moment before? How many times have you dreamed something, only to see it unfold in waking life? These are not accidents. They are glimpses of the timeless fabric you are woven into. They are reminders that the future is not ahead. It is alongside you, brushing against your awareness, waiting for you to choose. When you understand this, shifting becomes natural. Because you stop waiting for your new reality to arrive. You stop chasing a future that never comes. Instead, you realize it is already here. All you need to do is claim it. All you need to do is step into alignment with it now. The danger is in hesitation. Every time you tell yourself, not yet, you choose the timeline of delay. Every time you say, someday, you collapse into the version of reality where someday never comes. But when you say, now, when you embody the self who already is, then reality bends instantly. Not gradually, instantly, because the field does not obey time, it obeys resonance. So tonight, when your mind tries to push your dream into tomorrow, whisper to yourself now. Feel it, live it, claim it, because time is not your master, it is your servant, and it waits for your command. Here is the great paradox, the one truth that both frees you and terrifies you. Shifting is simple. Too simple, and that simplicity is precisely why so few ever grasp it. Your mind has been trained to worship difficulty, to believe that power hides in struggle, that meaning comes only through effort. But reality bends, not to the complex, but to the clear, not to the many, but to the one. Think of it: every spiritual teaching, every scientific discovery, every mystical initiation points back to the same core truth. Consciousness chooses, and reality responds. Nothing more, nothing less. The rest, rituals, techniques, elaborate systems, are scaffolding, helpful perhaps, but not necessary. At the heart of it all, it is your awareness, pure and undistracted, that shifts worlds. And this is dangerous knowledge. Dangerous because it dismantles excuses. Dangerous because it strips away the illusion of helplessness. Dangerous because it reveals that you are far more powerful than you have been taught to believe. The moment you accept this simplicity, you can no longer hide behind the story of struggle. You can no longer say, I don't know how. You can no longer wait for someone else to open the door. You are the door. This is why humanity resists the truth. Complexity keeps you safe. If the path is long and arduous, you can delay. If the process is mysterious, you can remain a seeker instead of a creator. But when the truth is revealed, that the only requirement is presence, awareness, choice, then the burden falls on you. You must act. You must decide. You must step into the responsibility of being the observer, the shaper, the one who chooses. And yet, this is also your liberation. Because simplicity means accessibility. You do not need years of training, sacred initiations, or external permission. You do not need to be special, chosen, or enlightened. You already hold the key, because the key is consciousness itself. The power you have been chasing was never outside you. It was the act of noticing, of choosing, of aligning. Pause now and let this settle. Feel the weight of it. Notice the resistance that arises. The mind saying, "It cannot be this easy." That resistance is the ego's last defense. It knows that if you accept the simplicity, you dismantle its entire fortress of limitation. Because once you realize you are free, no wall can hold you, no chain can bind you, no belief can cage you. The ancient mystics hid this truth in riddles because humanity was not ready. They cloaked it in symbols, rituals, and parables, not to deceive, but to protect. For dangerous knowledge can liberate, but it can also destroy. If one awakens without wisdom, they may misuse the power of choice, bending reality from fear instead of love. And so, the teaching was veiled. But the veil is thinning now. The time has come to remember. The simplicity is not a weakness. It is strength. It is the essence stripped bare. The truth so clear it needs no adornment. And, once you embrace it, you will see why the world has distracted you with complexity for so long. Because a humanity that remembers its simplicity is a humanity that cannot be controlled. So the question becomes, will you embrace it? Will you accept the dangerous simplicity that everything you seek is already here, already alive, already yours the moment you choose it? You have traveled through shadows and mirrors, through silence and thresholds, through the hidden truths of time and the fractured self. And now you stand at the heart of it all, where the final veil is lifted. What you have been searching for is not far away. It is not locked behind rituals, guarded by secrets, or waiting in some distant future. It is here. It is now. It has always been. Quantum shifting is not a technique. It is not a puzzle to be solved. It is the natural rhythm of your existence, happening with every breath, every thought, every flicker of awareness. You are already doing it. The only difference between the unconscious and the awakened is recognition. To awaken is to realize that every moment is a shift, and that you are the one choosing the direction. But here is the final truth. Once you see this, you cannot return to blindness. The simplicity will haunt you. Because now you know that you cannot hide behind complexity, cannot bury yourself in excuses, cannot pretend that you are powerless. You have glimpsed the dangerous clarity, that reality bends to your awareness, and that your awareness is free. And yet, there is no burden here. There is no pressure to get it right. Because in the infinite sea of realities, there is no failure. Every choice is a doorway. Every path leads to discovery. Every shift, whether born of fear or love, teaches you who you are. And the more you remember, the more gracefully you choose. Until, at last, you align with the highest version of yourself, the one who has always been waiting in the light. The mystics called this union. The physicists call it coherence. The poets call it homecoming. It is the moment when the fractured selves merge, when the mirror clears, when the silence blossoms into song. It is the awakening into the truth that there is no gap between you and the infinite. That you are not a traveler moving through worlds, but the consciousness from which all worlds arise. Pause now. Breathe. Feel this truth in your chest. You are not shifting to escape. You are shifting to remember. You are not creating something new. you are revealing what was always yours. And in that remembrance, life ceases to be a struggle and becomes a dance, a flow, a radiant unfolding of infinite possibilities, chosen moment by moment, with nothing to fear, nothing to lose, and everything to discover. So the invitation is simply step into the awareness of now. Claim the self that is already free. Walk into the world that is already alive in your heart, because the final awakening is not somewhere else. It is here. Not someday. It is today. Not for someone else. It is for you. And once you accept that, you will see the truth that has always been hidden in plain sight. Quantum shifting is simple. That is why nobody gets it. But now you do.